Good morning, Friday. Good morning, Asean. Freshen up your world, your thought, and your idea with us every weekday from 7:30 to 8 a.m. I'm Patsurang Desha Putharangsi.
And I'm Rina Jongbasit. It's Friday, the 31st of May. And yesterday just concluded the last official visit of the Indian Premier to Thailand. We'll take a look at this special report on what the countries have agreed on their cooperation.
Light grows out in the Asian continent, with a number of players now taking more prominent roles. India is one such country that can no longer afford to lose its position in the multi-dimensional East Asian politics. On Indian Prime Minister Manmohan Singh's last leg of his 5-day trip to strengthen the Look East policy, his official visit to Thailand indicates that the kingdom is crucial for India to integrate with the Southeast Asian nations.
India attaches high importance to its relationship with the Kingdom of Thailand. We are neighbors linked by millennium-old ties of culture and civilization. Our cooperation is growing in multiple dimensions, in defense and security, trade and investment, science and technology, education, culture and tourism, and each area holds enormous potential.
Among the topics of discussion, both the Indian and Thai leaders emphasize on linkages that will enhance the two-way trade and regional investments. The trilateral highway will connect India's northeastern region with Thailand via Myanmar by 2016 and will accommodate the flow of goods, investment and services, bringing about more economic development along the way. Thailand is also keen to get investors to join in the development of the mega Juarawee project.
Enhance connectivities with Thailand. India and the region would strengthen our economic partnership and people-to-people ties. That is why I have invited the Indian private sector to participate in the development of Juarawee deep seaport and industrial zone. This will be linked with the Indian port of Chennai through maritime connectivities.
No free trade agreements were signed at this point in time, despite the talks approaching to a conclusion stage. But both the leaders have tasked officials to quickly resolve the few outstanding issues regarding the comprehensive FTA between Thailand and India. With last year's bilateral trade of both countries worth $8.6 million, they are now looking forward to further expansion of $14 million by 2014. With other Asian countries increasing their influences in the region, India is making theirs calmly and steadily. There is no doubt that the Indian Prime Minister's visit also sends a crucial message to the Southeast Asian region that more players are stepping in to balance out the power play. The question may be, how is Thailand going to take note of the current diplomacy? Juarawee reports.
From a close cooperation to how a dispute should be settled, Kunwina. Concerning the dispute between Taiwan and the Philippines, a team of investigators from Taiwan on Thursday concluded their interviews with witnesses involved in the shooting incident that killed a Taiwanese fisherman early this month and have started wrapping up their probe in Manila. But Taiwanese investigator Yang Wan Lee said she would like to reiterate that through their seamless cooperation in the cooperative investigation, they will achieve the goal to bring the people responsible for the justice, for their criminal and administrative liability depending on the respective findings. The team was able to conduct a ballistics examination on the weapons used by the Philippine Coast Guard, view a video recording of the shooting incident, inspect the surveillance ship, and interview witnesses during their 4-day investigation in Manila. Well, Taiwan sent its investigation team to Manila on Monday as part of an agreement with the Philippines to hold a parallel probe in the shooting incident. Manila has also sent 8 of its investigators to Taiwan for a similar probe. While a Taiwanese fisherman was killed in the shooting incident on May 9th by the Philippine Coast Guard in waters off the northern Philippines. Taiwan said the killing took place in its exclusive economic zone and was a violation of international law. The Philippines fisheries official has said one of its vessels, acting under the threat of being rammed, opened fire on a Taiwanese fishing boat about 170 nautical miles southeast of Taiwan, killing one person on board.
Take a look at what's going on in the South China Sea as the Philippines has told China to keep its hands off the country's sovereign affairs in the West Philippine Sea or the South China Sea after Chinese Ambassador Ma KaChin expressed concerns that the Philippines might be building more structures in the Ayungin Shoal. The Philippines Department of Foreign Affairs also reiterated the country's ownership of the territory and called on China anew to pull out its government and fishing vessels from around the shoal, where they were deployed nearly a month ago. Ayungin Shoal is an integral part of the Philippine national territory. China is not in a position to dictate on what the Philippines can do within its maritime domain. In a brief pull-aside meeting at the National Military Headquarters in Camp Aguinaldo on Wednesday, Ma had told Defense Secretary Voltaire Gasman that her government was concerned that the Philippines could be building up its presence in the Ayungin Shoal, where a rusting grounded ship has been serving a detachment for Filipino sailors. The shoal, known internationally as the Second Tom Shoal and Renai Reef to the Chinese, is some 196 kilometers off Palawan, well within the country's established 370-kilometer exclusive economic zone. The Philippines exercises jurisdiction and sovereign rights over its exclusive economic zone and continental shelf in the West Philippine Sea and has all the right to undertake lawful activities within the maritime domain without any interference or objection by any other state.
Myanmar on Thursday again reached a tentative peace deal with ethnic minority Kachin rebels aimed at ending the country's last major active civil war, which has displaced tens of thousands of people already. Kachin and government representatives meeting on home soil for the first time since fighting flared up 2 years ago signed a 7-point plan to end hostilities in the remote northern region. According to a negotiator, Min Zaw-u, a director of the EU-funded Myanmar Peace Center who took part in the talks in the Kachin state capital, Myitkyina, a breakthrough had been achieved. He added that the agreement is to stop fighting at this point, and afterwards there are going to be detailed discussions about the repositioning of troops. An official translation of the document said the two sides vowed to strive for a de-escalation and cessation of hostilities. They also agreed to hold political dialogue, a key demand of the Kachin, who have long argued the negotiations should address their demands for more political rights as well as greater autonomy. The two sides also agreed on to hold discussions on resettling people displaced by the fighting and create a joint monitoring team. A presidential spokesman hailed the agreement as really good news, but representatives from the rebel Kachin Independence Army, KIA, were not immediately available to comment. Representatives of the KIA and President Thein Sein's reformist government held 3 days of talks in Myitkyina. Previous rounds of negotiations had taken place across the border in China. But the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon's special advisor on Myanmar, Vijay Nambiar, also joined the meeting for the first time as an observer, along with representatives of China and other ethnic minorities. Thein Sein's government has agreed tentative ceasefires with most of Myanmar's ethnic rebels as part of its reforms, but fighting in Kachin had persisted.
On Myanmar Focus Daily, the Asian Development Bank has identified high potential towns in Myanmar.
The Asian Development Bank expert identified the high potential towns of Myanmar to be included in the expansion plan of Greater Mekong Sub-region economic corridors. Since 1992, Greater Mekong Sub-region countries, namely Thailand, Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, and Yunnan Province of China, have received support from the Asian Development Bank. It is the ongoing support of investment in transport corridors, which were the roads and railways. One of the development efforts is urban development in corridor towns. Since 1998, it has converted from transport corridors into economic corridors with the aim to increase competitiveness of these towns. The towns will have an impact role for trade and commerce and basis for export, processing zones, industrial zones, basic infrastructure, road infrastructure, and facilities for trade, commerce, and logistics. The investment will be between the bank and public sector to join hands with the support from governments to guide towards their specific needs. By 2012, 9 GMS corridors have been identified with several branches and sub-corridors, for example, Northern, Western, Northeastern, Eastern, Central, North-South, East-West, Southern, and Southern Coastal. The investment for the corridor towns will be in environmental infrastructure, such as access to basic infrastructure, cleaner environment and mitigation of climate change impacts, and economic infrastructure, namely development of markets, logistics centers, dry ports, industrial zones, incubators for SMEs, and tourism development. ADB plans to expand GMS corridor towns with the integration with China and the inclusion of Myanmar. Apart from Yangon and Mandalay, ADB has projected several other cities that have high potential to connect with neighboring towns under the same corridor to become rising economic centers.
There is MALAYSIA mine at the East-West Economic Corridor, not very far from Yangon. Further south there is a city of Juarawee, which is very much targeted by Thai investors at the moment, and I think government of Thailand support is there. And we can see a number of towns along the big corridor that connects Yunnan province in China, Mandalay, and the western coast of Mandalay, and particularly Kiautpu on the coast of the Gulf of Bengal is pronounced and targeted as becoming a major hub for investment, and something that they have dubbed already as a potential second Singapore. So we see a lot of potential along that corridor as well. A further corridor which one broadly can also identify is the connection between Mandalay and India. As you know, Myanmar is a country where India and China and Southeast Asia are meeting. So India has already committed to assist Myanmar with some of the rail investments, so that this corridor will have a strong rail-based transport infrastructure.
In assisting Myanmar for further growth, the bank has been discussing with the government in grant-based and loan-based. Myanmar has expressed interest in lending with ADB. The two parties currently have the plan for the next 4 years of cooperation.
In the pipeline, there are 4 sectors. There is energy, there is road transport, but mostly, I think, concentrating on the East-West Economic Corridor. There is agriculture and natural resources, and there's urban development, mostly water and sanitation and corridor towns development.
ADB noted that the projects that have been discussed today will start to have a real impact in the next 12 to 15 years. Yet the bank believes that Myanmar will be part of shift of the world's economic gravity, and GMS corridors are key elements to unlock the potentials of new markets. Juarawee Tangmisang for Myanmar Focus Daily.
Coming up next for Urbanista and Sathapat Paetong and his City Farm project.
The ratings agency Moody's Investor Service has upgraded 5 national banks in Indonesia, reflecting the growing quality of their credit rates and financial strength. The banks that received the upgrades from Moody's were Bank Central Asia or BCA, Bank Rakyat Indonesia or BRI, Bank Mandiri, Bank Negara Indonesia BNI, and Bank Permata. BCA's rating went up by one level to BA1. Moody's considered BCA deserved the upgrade because the bank had maintained its excellent financial performance, solid profile, and high level of profits, and had managed to expand its services to a broader market. BRI's rate climbed up to Baa3 from its previous Ba1. Moody's said BRI had improved its asset quality and expanded its credit disbursement towards small and medium-scale enterprises, allowing the bank to achieve higher profit margins. Bank Mandiri's rating went up to Ba1 from Ba2. The upgrade, according to Moody's, reflects the bank's ability to maintain its financial performance, expand its services, and obtain sufficient financing, while at the same time increasing its profits. Bank Permata's rating was upgraded to Ba2 from Ba3 because of its asset improvement. Moody's did not raise BNI's rating from Ba2, but the outlook for its financial strength increased from stable to positive, according to Moody's.
In a closely watched international ranking of economic competitiveness, Malaysia fell one slot from 14th to 15th, continuing a 3-year steady trend since its fall from 10th to 16th in 2011. This comes as Putrajaya touted Malaysia's rise from 16th to 14th in 2012's ranking earlier this year, including during Prime Minister Najib Razak's presentation of the Economic Transformation Program's report card just before election 2013. According to Professor Stefan Garelli, director of the IMD World Competitiveness Center, the golden rules of competitiveness are simple: manufacture, diversify, export, invest in infrastructure, educate, support SMEs, enforce fiscal discipline, and above all, maintain social cohesion. The Malaysia Productivity Corporation, or MPC, outlined in the report several challenges that the country is facing this year, including reducing the budget deficit and achieving fiscal balance for economic sustainability. According to Bank Negara Malaysia Governor Tan Sri Aksha Aziz, said it is important to rationalize the budget deficit because the government has also made a commitment to do so over the next few years and to manage its level of indebtedness. Barisan Nasional had promised election pledges of cheaper cars, fuel price cuts, building cheaper homes, and more cash in the people's pockets, which were estimated to cost around 20 billion ringgit.
Cambodia's trade volume has reached $5.12 billion, which was 25% rise from the same period last year, according to the Commerce Department. During the January to April period this year, the country exported goods in equivalent to $2.13 billion, up 28%. At the meantime, it imported products in the total value of $2.99 billion, up 23%. Kwan Sawut, chief of the Ministry of Commerce Chem Control Department's Statistics Division, said the remarkable growth was thanks to the globally good economic situation and Cambodia's efforts in diversifying exports. He said the main products Cambodia exported were garments, footwear, rubber latex, milled rice, corn, and cassava, while items the country imported included garment and textile raw materials, petroleum, construction materials, automobile and motorcycles, consuming items, food and soft drinks, pharmaceutical products, and cosmetics. Cambodia's major trading partners are the United States, European countries, China, South Korea, Japan, Thailand, Vietnam, and Malaysia. Last year, the country's total trade volume was about $13.6 billion, up 19% year on year, according to the Commerce Ministry.
Kun Sathapat Patong, our reporter today, will take us to observe how urban people try to learn how to grow themselves homegrown vegetable in such a small space in Urbanista.
Sadikrap and welcome to Urbanista that will keep you updated with what's happening around Bangkok and the metropolises within ASEAN region, from social lives to cultural corners. And today's episode of Urbanista will take you to observe how the urban people in Thailand turn to their old way of life. Rather than buying fresh vegetables from the fresh market, which are sometimes contaminated with chemicals, they are now learning how to grow homegrown vegetables in a small space. Growing homegrown vegetables is one of the Thai cultures, but after urban development has expanded, particularly in major cities like Bangkok and its vicinity, people's way of life has changed. They rely on ready-made food rather than home-cooked food. A busy life in a city with small space makes people think growing vegetables at home is difficult and unnecessary, so that this culture slowly disappeared. However, a new innovation of how to grow vegetables at home is now invented to overcome the limitation of space of urban people. Now they can grow vegetables on a cement floor, a deck, or even on a vertical area, realizing the potentials of urban people and the importance of growing homegrown vegetables for family consumption. City Farm project has been initiated to provide knowledge and training workshops for urban people, aiming to support and create learning centers of homegrown agriculture developed to conform to urban lifestyles. There are now 6 centers under the projects located around Bangkok and its vicinity. It also provides professional staff for any community interested in organizing a workshop within the community's area. Karatchanok Hutapaed, a center coordinator, said the project always receives a very great feedback, adding that a lot of people are interested in joining the workshop every time it is organized. And in the end, urban people find it easy to grow vegetables at home.
จริงๆแล้วไม่ใช่เรื่องยากเลยแต่แค่ต้องเริ่มจากเราลงมือทำก่อนนะคะแรกเริ่มเนี่ยคนเมืองอาจจะรู้สึกว่าแบบไม่มีเวลาไม่มีพื้นที่อาจจะมีข้ออ้างต่างๆเราอาจจะลองมาศึกษาดูแล้วก็ต้องเริ่มลงมือทำเนี่ยแล้วก็ผลผลิตที่ได้มาเนี่ยจะคุ้มค่ามากเลย
Actually, it is not difficult at all, she said. We just give it a try. With some excuses, urban people may say that they have no time and space. However, we just have to start learning and try growing vegetables at home. I'm sure you will not regret the produce you get. The center coordinator said that all we need is just any kind of containers that we do not use anymore. For example, plastic bottles, ice cream cups, or old bowls. And although space is no longer a concern, there are several important things you need to consider, like soil, seeds, and a good care. According to the coordinator, popular vegetables urban people love to eat and grow are bean sprout, Chinese water convolvulus, kale, lettuce, and Chinese mustard green. She added that growing vegetables at home would help reduce household spending, making a family more self-sufficient. More importantly, she said, this activity also strengthens relations among family and community members. More information of the City Farm project, its workshops, and knowledge of homegrown vegetables is available on its website. Just head to worldwideweb.thaicityfarm.com. And that wraps up today's episode of Urbanista. You can follow me again every Friday. For today, thanks for joining me. I am Sathapat. We'll see you next week.
That's it for today's edition of Good Morning ASEAN. We'll see you again next week. Same time, same place, same channel.
You can catch us again 7:30 to 8 a.m. on Krungthep Thulakit TV. Thanks for watching. As I'm Weena Jongprasit.
And I'm Patsurang Desha Putarang Si. สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ